Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Joe Jackalone. I'm the Executive Director of International Admission at Marist College. I'm also a proud Marist graduate. And today I'm here to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects that Marist has to offer, and that is our study abroad program. And I'm sure there are many schools that you're looking into that offer study abroad, but I can guarantee you that very few of them, if not any of them, will have a program quite like ours. And although this session will be focused on the Florence campus, I think it's important to start off and explain the beginnings of Marist and what our origins are, and then fold that into what the experience will be like for students in one of the most beautiful cities that exist in Europe. So as you can see here, this is a compilation of photographs from the New York campus. We're located just north of New York City, about 90 minutes up the Hudson River. And we are a medium-sized liberal arts and sciences university. We offer a number of different degrees, graduate programs, doctoral programs. And I'm sure you've heard the Princeton Review. They put out the top 400 colleges in the United States, and Marist is consistently listed in that top 400. They don't necessarily rank all the schools in that book, but we're in the top 400. But the Princeton Review also narrowed down the top 50 colleges that create futures. So this is the top 50 schools in the United States that create futures for students, and we are in that top 50. And one of the reasons why is because we offer incredible internship opportunities, but study abroad opportunities. And our Florence campus is the reason behind that. Marist is very strong in sending students abroad. And even our students that study at our four-year campus in Florence, Italy, have the opportunity to study abroad in other parts of the world as well. So when students think, oh, I'm going to study abroad in Italy, that's true, but there could be more to that global experience. We send students everywhere. So if you have an inkling of a desire to study abroad beyond what Florence and Italy has to offer, Marist is a fabulous opportunity for you. So to kind of give you an idea, within the context of the United States, only 10% of US students will study abroad, and over half of Marist students study abroad. So if you're coming from another country and you're coming to New York, it's a great place because most of the students at the college want to have a global experience. But for our students that attend the university, the majority of them are having an abroad experience. So we have students that study semester abroad, short-term abroad, first-year abroad programs. We have students going to 70 different locations around the world. And as I mentioned, over half of Marist students will study abroad. The number one study abroad destination for Marist students happens to be Florence. Here are just some rankings on how well we study abroad. So in terms of students going abroad, there's a lot, as I mentioned. And a lot of it has to do with the strategic partnerships that we have overseas and outside of the United States. But there's also a very strong support program for students that are in the study abroad world. And that includes students that are completing their four-year degree at the Florence campus. So for US students in particular, the number one study abroad destination is in England. And then number two is Italy. But for Marist, Florence is the number one study abroad destination. Now, many schools that you're looking at, perhaps, around the world, they may have campuses in Florence. It happens to be a very popular college town, including the University of Florence. In a non-pandemic year, there are probably close to 30,000 students studying in that city. And there are many reasons why it's a great place to study, which I'm going to go into in a few moments. But in our Florence campus, we have full bachelor degree programs, we have a master's degree program, and we have a freshman Florence experience program. So other schools may say that they have a campus in Florence, and that may be true to a degree, but no one has a campus like us. We are the only US bachelor degree program that operates in Florence, Italy. That means that we have students every year that will move to Florence and attend our program and will achieve a bachelor's degree for all 4 years, but never step foot in the main campus here in New York. And they will come out of this program with a United States accredited degree from Marist. So that's something that makes us very unique. If you've never been to Florence, it is one of the greatest cities in Europe, and for many reasons. It is a very travel-friendly city. What I mean by that is there are students that will come to Florence because they use it as a jumping off point to travel to different parts of Europe. They want to experience different cultures. They want to experience different customs, different people, different types of food. And when you're in a place like Florence, you can easily take a cheap flight or a train and end up in a different country with a totally different experience in a short amount of time. So students will come to Florence because of the access. Now, in terms of where it is in the country of Italy, it does provide great access to other major cities with, again, different cuisines and different ways of life throughout the country of Italy. So you could take a fast train and be in Milan in an hour and a half. You could go south and be in Rome, Naples, Sicily. There are so many diverse places within the country of Italy to explore, and Florence is a great place to have a home base. It's also the birthplace of the Renaissance. If you are interested in the arts, when you are in the art world, it is going to be difficult to find someone that has not been to Florence, Italy. Most artists globally will come through Florence at least once in their lives because it plays such a significant role in Western art. And it is the birthplace of the Renaissance. It literally is a World Heritage Site. Florence itself is an open air museum. And I like to think about Florence as listening to an album for the first time. So you download an album or you stream an album and you listen to it for the first time, and there may be things that you pick up on it that you appreciate, you like it as a whole. As you get to listen to certain songs and nuances and bridges and vocals and certain instruments and different songs, you get to appreciate the nuances of those songs in the album. And that's what life is like in Florence. As you get to learn about the city, you get to appreciate all the beautiful and subtle nuances of this Renaissance city. It's very international as well. And this is something that I appreciate as someone that travels through there a few times a year. This is something that I appreciated when I was a student studying in Florence. You do not need a bus to get around. You do not need a train to get around. It is a very walkable city. Everywhere you need to go, you might get lost because it's very organic, and then it's easy to find your way. It's very easy to interact with not just the Florentines, but the people that are visiting Florence, because it's such a hub for students and tourists from around the world. It is very common to be walking the streets of Florence and hearing accents and dialects and languages from all corners of the globe. And it's very, very possible to be sitting down for a meal and sitting next to someone from a different part of Europe or a different part of Asia or Africa or Latin America. So it's a great place to meet different people from around the world. Because it's a US program, all of the courses are in English. The only courses that are not in English are those that are in Italian. So every student coming to Florence to study is taking courses in Italian and in Italian language. So your basic language courses will be taught in Italian, and it's very possible that the professor will not speak English or some English, but the rest of the courses that you'll be studying will be conducted in English. I see we have some questions coming through, and that's great. And I will make sure that we have about 10 minutes at the end for your questions and answers. So throughout this presentation, if you have a question, maybe on a slide that I'm talking about now, or something that's just on your mind, feel free to send it through the Q&A, and I'll make sure that I address it at the end of the presentation. So let's move forward into the types of degrees that are offered there. As I mentioned, in New York, we have about 40 different degrees available at the New York campus. But in Florence, they're very specific, and they're really built off the strengths of Florence as a city. We use the city as an educational tool. As I said, it's an open air museum. And it's very common that when you're in your classes, that the professors will spend most of the time, well, some of the time, excuse me, in the class, and then for the remainder of the class will take you outside the class, either to their home studios, their work studios, or to showcase different examples of the work that they are teaching in the classroom. All these programs are accredited by Marist. So we have students that will graduate with either a Bachelor of Science, a Bachelor of Fine Arts, or a Bachelor of Arts. The first program they offer is a Bachelor of Science in Communication and Global Marketing Communication. Now, the difference between a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of Arts, if you're not familiar, a Bachelor of Science means that you're spending most of your time taking courses that are in that major. So if you want to be a career artist, you'd be taking your Bachelor of Science in Studio Arts. But if you have an interest in art and you might not be focused on a career in art and you want to explore different types of art, then a Bachelor of Arts in Fine Arts Studio Art is the way that you should be going. We are a liberal arts and sciences university in New York, and it's the same in Florence. So regardless of your major, whether you're doing conservation studies, fine arts, art history, Italian language, any one of these majors that you see on your screen, you'll be taking a common core curriculum in many different subjects. And the idea is that you will become, and there really is no pun intended because we use this for the New York campus as well, a Renaissance person. We want you to have strong skills in many different areas. But most importantly, we want you to develop strong critical thinking skills, writing skills, and communication skills. Skills that you're going to need as a student, but skills that you're going to need in life and beyond your academic degree. That means regardless of your major, you're taking courses in history, in philosophy, in math, in science, in art, all different areas. However, the courses that you're taking in Florence will have a European twist to the topics. So your history course could be a history of the Italian mafia, for instance, or a history of urban design. There are many different courses that will fit that criteria. One of the most popular courses, specifically in science, is a nutrition course. So in this course, it is a science course, but it is about cooking. And as you can imagine, it's a very popular course. So we have a Bachelor of Science in Communication with a focus in global marketing communication. This program is exclusively offered in Florence. It's not offered in the New York campus. So if someone is focused on this degree, they would do that in Florence, Italy. We have a Bachelor of Science in Conservation Studies. Now, this is probably one of our premier programs. And the reason behind that is because of the wealth of resources that we have in this area. Students are working on 14th, 15th, 16th century pieces of artwork, and they're handling it themselves, and they're restoring it, and they're working with restorers that have spent months on their backs in scaffolding, restoring work from Michelangelo, for instance. There are many churches that exist in Florence that have bunkers full of artwork that is not displayed, that is rotting, that needs care. And many of the people that work in conservation studies or art restoration that are teaching at our program in Marist are also in partnership with or working with these churches, either in a professional way, or they're working to bring those resources to the students so that they have access to the restoration. So a church might say, all right, I'm going to hire you to restore this piece, but here's some other pieces that you could use with your students. So there's a great wealth of resources for our students in this area. And if you're looking for conservation studies in the United States, as you can imagine, things in Florence are going to be much older as well. Then we also offer a digital media major, which is a Bachelor of Science in Digital Media. Our students are working on all the top software that you would encounter in the workforce. So you have a nice juxtaposition of working in this very old and ancient city, but also having the state-of-the-art software and computers that you would need to excel in an area such as digital media. We also have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Fashion Design, and This may seem obvious, it may not seem obvious, but fashion plays a major role in Florence, in the life of Florence, and in the culture of Florence. There's always going to be fashion shows coming through. There is a Gucci museum, there's a Ferragamo museum. I remember being a student seeing certain types of fashion in Florence, and then seeing those fashions come to the United States. Fine arts and art history, studio art, these are all going to be very strong majors because of just because of the culture in Florence. And there are so many artists that come through the area, but professional artists that work within the city. Interior design, and typically these are people that work in interior design and also teach at the university as well. Italian language, there's no better way to better understand a language and then to immerse yourself into that culture and in that language. And then, as I mentioned, studio art, there's a Bachelor of Science in Studio Art, is an absolutely fantastic program. Students love coming to Florence because of location. They also live in suite style apartments. Everything is fully furnished within the apartment. So when students move to Florence, all they need to bring is a couple of suitcases. You'd be living in an apartment with other students. So you would either have a single or you would share a room with another roommate, but then you would have a communal space. All of our students live in the same building, whether they're doing the freshman Florence experience, a bachelor degree program. They're all living together, and we have resident assistants and we have professional people that are resident directors that are managing that space. We have a Marist office, we have Marist staff that work in Florence, and then we also work very closely with our Italian Institute partner, Istituto Lorenzo de' Medici. They play a significant role in the partnership as well. All of the residence halls are fully furnished, as I mentioned, so you don't need to bring over sheets or pans or forks and knives, anything like that. I'm going to briefly go through the application process, and I want to make sure that I'm leaving enough time for your questions as we get closer to the 20-minute mark. The admission process for the Florence campus is on a rolling basis. So when students apply, as long as your applications are complete, we'll be able to send you a decision in a few weeks' time. There is an interview required for the admission process, but this really isn't an evaluative interview. This is more of an informative interview. We want you to make sure that you have all the information necessary so that you can make an educated decision on whether or not this program is right for you. This program, you do need to be a special type of person to enroll and to excel. And what I mean by that is, because you're in the city of Florence, this is an urban campus. We have some clubs and organizations, but we want students to really immerse themselves into the culture. And you do need to be a bit more independent if you're going to be studying at the Florence campus. But the programs are small enough where the staff will know who you are, the professors will know who you are. There is a tremendous amount of care and community that exists in the programs, but we go through the interview process so that you have all this information. There is a portfolio requirement for some of the degrees, and those portfolios are reviewed by faculty. So we'll work with the faculty to make the admission decision. So you have to be academically admissible, and then the faculty want to make sure that you are in a good space to excel in their program. So the programs that require a portfolio would be the Bachelor of Science in Studio Art, the Interior Design program, and the Fashion Design program. Each one have specific portfolio requirements that are on the website, and we ask you to submit those with your application. We are a US program that exists in Europe, and we do offer scholarships and financial aid. And when you apply, you are automatically considered for scholarships. We just assume everyone wants one, so we'll just review you for scholarships. And if you're looking for financial aid, if you're a US citizen, you would fill out the FAFSA form, and you may qualify for federal aid based on your family's income. If you were a non-US citizen, you would complete the CSS profile, and you could also qualify for some financial aid as well. The majority of our students that are enrolled in the programs do receive some sort of scholarship and financial aid. This is just a great picture of the Duomo, which is probably the most recognizable building in Florence. And really everything is centered around the Duomo. When anyone is asking for directions, that they always ask in what relation to the Duomo is the place that I'm going. You are awestruck when you walk by this building. This is something that you really can't take for granted. Something that I love about Florence. As many times that I've been there, I'm always stopped dead in my tracks when I pass by this building. And so much of Florence is like that. There is so much beauty that is just out there, very visible, and there's so much beauty that is to be left discovered. It is an absolutely incredible place to study. So we have a few questions. I'm going to leave this picture of Florence up. We have a few questions coming in, so please feel free if you have additional questions. We have about 10 minutes left before this session is over, and I'm happy to answer the questions. So the first question is about safety. In particular, how safe is Florence for everyone, and especially for women? So obviously, I can't speak specifically on my experience as a male, but I can tell you that Florence is a very safe place. However, it is an international city, so you're going to need to take the same precautions that you would have in any other city around the world. There's certain areas that you want to stay away from, and there are certain areas where it's perfectly fine for you to go, even in the evenings. Florence is a very well-lit city in most of the squares and the piazzas, and it's very common to see people walking the streets in the evenings, just strolling and enjoying being in the community. I know that our director of the Florence campus has two young daughters. Well, one daughter's attending here in New York. She has another young daughter. And when she answers this question, she talks about how her daughters do have a curfew, but they're allowed to be out in the city of Florence, and they have to be back at a certain time. Florence, from an economical standpoint, has two major sources of income, and that is tourism and students. So there are there's a strong presence of police all over to keep the city safe. So there is the Carabinieri, there's the Polizia. There literally are 9 different types of police or law enforcement that are present in the city of Florence. So it's not devoid of crime, of course, and you have to exercise caution and common sense. Usually students are walking in groups, but it is a safe city. Great question, though. If you have further questions about safety, specifically from a female's perspective, I'm happy to connect you with current students, female students at the campus to give you probably a much more comprehensive answer. All right, if you decide to complete the program in Florence, will the degree be accredited in Italy as well as USA? Another great question. So this is a US program, and it is a US degree, US accreditation. So it's not an Italian accredited degree, it is a US accredited degree. On the flip side of that, it's also important to know, here in New York, we have many Italian students, Italian citizens that are attending our university here in New York, and they're graduating from Marist with the Marist degree and going back and working in Italy. The degree that our Italian students are graduating with here in New York is the same type of degree that our students are graduating from in Florence. About 35% of our students in Florence are non-American, by the way. All right, next question. Is the IELTS accepted there? If yes, what band? Absolutely. So if you are a non-native English speaker, even though you're studying in Florence, you still need to have a strong command of the English language. And for the IELTS, we ask you to have a total score of 6.5. You can also take the TOEFL. And if you have a TOEFL score of 80, you're fine there. If you are taking the Duolingo English test, we ask you to have a 105 at least. So that's a 105 on Duolingo, a 6.5 on the IELTS, or an 80 on the TOEFL. You could choose whichever one you'd like. There are ways to have this waived. So if you're attending a US curriculum somewhere around the world or in the United States, and you have not taken any ESL, English as a second language courses, then we would have that English proficiency waived for you. If, for instance, you've taken the SAT and you receive a score of 500 or higher on that critical reading or writing section, we can waive the English requirement. If you're graduating from an IB program, we can also waive the English language requirement for you. So yes, so tuition costs is the same for everyone, whether you're from the United States or from Italy, or you're from Lithuania or from Colombia or Singapore, wherever you're from Kenya, it doesn't matter. It's the same cost. And scholarships and financial aid the policies are the same. The only difference is that if you are a U.S. citizen, you may qualify for other federal aid. But if you are a non-U.S. citizen, you would complete the CSS profile and you could qualify for institutional aid. So tuition is going to be about, with everything, tuition, room and board, living on campus, it's close to about $60,000 per year. Every student is required to be on a student visa. Unless you are an EU citizen, then you do not need to be on a visa to attend. And we would assist you with that process. Depending on where the Italian consulate is in your country, we would just help you work with that Italian consulate so that you could receive you would receive your student visa to attend. So in terms of the admission process and the scholarship process, everything is the same if you are an international student, a non-US citizen, or a US citizen, or European Union citizen. That's a very good question. There's a comprehensive orientation that takes place prior to the start. So we know that we're dealing with students that perhaps have never left their city before, and they're in a new country for the very first time in their lives. And for some students, because there is really no meal plan, you're learning how to cook on your own. We have part of the orientation, you'll be taught how to cook by an Italian chef, which definitely doesn't happen in New York. But at least you could cook that one meal multiple times, and you'll be fine. But generally what happens is as students get to know the city a bit better, and part of the orientation where we take you to the market, and eventually students get to a point where they have a place where they always buy their cheese. They have a place where they always buy their vegetables. They have a place where they always buy their bread. The beauty behind studying 4 years in this country, in this city in particular, is that you really get to become a part of the city and you get to know the city. But there is a barrier that you have to surpass. So because Florence is such a rich place for students to attend and for tourists to come through, many people are very transient. But as you live there longer, even for at least that first year, you really get to know the people that live there and really build those strong relationships, not just with the students that are in your program, but with the other people that live in the community. So as they see you coming back year after year, you really get to develop those strong friendships. And it really is important also to venture out beyond the city of Florence. There's beautiful cities outside of the main city of Florence to explore and people to meet, and different events that are going on. There's a beautiful park just outside the city where many people gather, and there are events always being held there, sporting events or shopping events, political events. There's a tremendous amount to do in the city of Florence. I feel like I should also mention that the academics are on a traditional US-based track, meaning that their semester programs, it will take 8 semesters to complete the degree. And we're also aware that students want to travel and students want to explore, and we do encourage that. And typically, you would not have classes on Fridays. But there is a very strong attendance policy for that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday class schedule. But we do want people to go out and explore. Now, part of the program, part of the tuition for the program is that you would be attending one fall trip and one spring trip that is sponsored by the institution, that you would travel with staff. Typically, that first trip would be somewhere within Italy, and then the second trip, perhaps a different part of Europe. It all depends on the year. But it really is designed to help you navigate the rail system and the travel system, flights and things of that nature. It's very common also for current students to pass down some of their favorite itineraries, places to stay, people to meet, places to go to new students starting the program. So we're coming into the end. I think we have about a minute left before we wrap up. Any final questions? Feel free to ask. I also have my email up here on the screen, and you can email me directly. I am the person that would review your application, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. It is an amazing program, and for the right person, this is going to be a life-changing experience. So I hope you reach out.
Amazing. Thank you, Joe, for that presentation. I think everyone who came out got what they were looking for. Studying in Italy, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
So if you have any more questions for Joe, please feel free to head into his booth. He'll be here the rest of the day to answer any questions.
Definitely.
Thank you again, Joe. Bye now.
Thanks, Margo. Take care, everyone.